Welcome, Traceable Designers. Today we're going to make the beautiful arched style valance. We're making the Cornice design with side panels and a center panel. You'll need your arch design form from your Traceable Designer kit. To begin, just follow the cut line and just cut all around the lower edge of your design form to reveal the shape, and then we'll be ready to begin. We're starting with the center panel. I have my fabric here with a print, so I'd like to make sure that's centered. You want to make sure that it's all uniform. So this line here is with the center of the panel because it will be folded in half. So just line that up properly when you fold your fabric in half to size it. Then once you have that properly aligned, just position the design form over the piece of fabric so you know where to cut. Make sure you have enough height and enough width, and then simply cut off the excess, placing that on the folded line. Now that you have your fabric sized, turn it with the backside facing up and pull out your fusible fabric backing. You're going to cut that to size. So you'll position that with a little edge rim that's exposed around the fusible backing, and then just fold it up because you don't need the whole piece, so you'll cut that off and you can reserve that for using for trim or something else that you might need. So just cut that off. Flip it over so that the glue side is facing down on the back side of your fabric, and then with a dry iron, just using a sweeping motion, fuse your fusible backing to the back of your fabric. Once that's completely cooled, just peel off the paper carefully and keep it all in one piece because you'll be reserving that for later when you put on your trim. Next, we're going to cut a piece of lining to connect to the back of our fabric section. You want to make sure that lining extends beyond all the edges of your fabric so that it's completely covered. And then with a sweeping motion, starting in the middle, again with a dry iron, just sweep out toward the sides and continue until the lining is completely adhered to the back of your fabric. Next, we'll fold our completed fabric in half, keeping our centered print in the middle, and then make sure it's lined up perfectly straight, and then just place a pin between the fabric to hold it. Now we're going to trace our valance form to make our center panel. I'm using the small sizing line, so that'll get lined right evenly there on the fold. The upper line here is the 14-inch upper section of the valance. So that's where the center panel will be sized to be cut out. Now make sure when you are positioning this, you are covering all of the glue, so all of the fabric is adhered where you're tracing and where you're going to cut out. So once you've traced the side, mark it and then slide the design form down, and then you'll move it over so it's even with the fold, so it's nice and straight, and then connect your marks across the top to indicate the height cut line for the center valance panel. Okay, to cut out our valance panel, you want to turn the folded edge toward you and then follow your cut line carefully with long sweeping cuts, and then just follow easily around the curved edges and follow the line carefully. Take your time, make it nice and smooth, and then just cut out your valance panel all the way around the side and then all the way up on the edge. Then you turn your panel with the cut side toward you and then just follow the cut line to adjust the height. Okay, our center panel is cut out. It's nice and evenly positioned. So you want to flip that over, and then we're just going to give it another once over with the iron to make sure all of the edges are solid and everything is fully secured. Okay, it's time to attach our trim. So pull out your edge trim and just run it along the edge there and make sure you have plenty of excess. You don't want to run short. Bring out that reserved paper, making sure the shiny side is facing up, and pull out your iron and your trim and then just run it under your iron to get it nice and flat so that it's easy to attach the fusible backing. So just pull it through and get that nice and flat. Then pull out the reserved fusible backing and cut nice long strips of backing to attach to your trim. You will need to overlap several sections of the fusible backing. Once that's complete, just make sure you have the glue side, the knobby side down, beginning at the edge of your trim. Position the fusible backing, and then in small sections start fusing the backing to your trim. It's actually very easy to do. It's easier than it looks, and just take your time until you've attached all of the fusible backing and then overlap the sections. Let it completely cool before removing the paper. Okay, beginning at the upper corner, just fuse the trim behind the back of the panel and then start moving along the edge of the valance. The trim will warm up as you get going. It makes it easier to move and curve. Just curve around the edges, going back over several times, and you'll just keep moving along slowly until it's all completely attached. When you get to the straight edge, pull that straight across and make sure that you have that nice and even on the bottom. That'll make a big difference with your valance. And then curve around the edges using your iron. You can reposition the trim as often as you need once it's warmed up and continue around to the upper edge. Once you get to the upper edge, again, cut that off and fold that behind and fuse that down as well. Now we're going to attach the Velcro to the back of the valance using the soft side of the Velcro. Cut the 2-inch strip in half and then cut a 1-inch strip of fusible fabric backing and just iron that right onto the valance. Then once the paper has completely cooled, you can peel that back and that exposes glue, making the Velcro stick really well. So peel the paper off the Velcro and very carefully attach it. It does stick immediately, so you want to take your time with this. Once you've positioned it, it will not move. So just fuse or press that along the entire area, and then once that's finished, you'll fold that over just to give it a little hit with the iron so that it folds over, and then you're ready to move on to your side panels. Okay, now we need to size our side panel fabric. We'll fold that in half and position the design form on the sizing line. I'm using the small sizing line on the fold. You want to make sure you have a lot of excess around the upper section and the outer section of the design form because you will be tracing a rod pocket for this. So just cut off the excess fabric and then open your fabric panel. You'll need to align your fusible fabric backing with the lined fabric positioning marker, but make sure it's down far enough that you have the excess on top for tracing your pocket. So once you've got that positioned nice and straight, using your iron again on a no steam, a dry iron, just fuse your backing to the fabric section. Once the paper is completely cooled, just peel it back and you'll do it all in one section and put that aside for your trim. Cut a piece of lining that's extending beyond all the sides and then line that very evenly across the glue section on top. The upper section will be your rod pocket. So fuse that across, starting in the middle and fusing out to the edges till it's fully secured. Now you can fold your fabric section in half, make sure it's very straight across the top where the white upper section is, and then just pin it. Then you'll position your design form on your sizing line. Again, I'm using the small sizing line, so that's on the outside. And then make sure the lined fabric positioning marker is straight across where the lining is positioned. And then starting at the top of the lining, just trace around your design form all the way and across the bottom. Then you're going to trace across the entire top edge, that is your rod pocket area. So you'll trace across the top and down the side. You should place a second pin in the upper rod pocket area to hold your fabric in place for cutting. So beginning at the folded side, carefully cut around the cut line, making sure you sweep around the corners for a nice, even, clean cut. And just as you did with the center panel, just continue around the side and then up across the lined area and then carefully cut across the rod pocket area. Then turn the fabric panel toward you with the cut side facing you, and then follow the line across the top to cut a very even strip across the top following your cut line to get rid of the excess, and that is your rod pocket area. Then run an iron across the fold so you have an easier way to see the line there, and then open that up because you're going to cut that exactly in half to make mirrored side panels for each side of your valance rod. So cut all the way up and across to separate the panels. Now we're going to create rod hanging pockets. So this is a 3-inch rod pocket, so you'll fold that over and iron that across. Leave a little area above the lining part so that that doesn't overlap. Then you'll cut about a 2 3/4 inch strip that fits across the back of both of your side panel rod pocket areas, and then you'll just fuse that down. So once you've ironed down the fusible backing, that's going to get folded over and then fused again to create the pocket. You want to make sure that it's very solid, so take your time with this. Once the paper's cool, just peel it back and then tightly and evenly pull over your rod pocket. You want to make sure you have a full 3 inches or more to make it easy for the rod to fit through, and then take your time fusing that down. If you have excess on the outside, you can trim that off. Now we're going to attach trim. So again, we're going to run along the edge and make sure we have plenty of trim. Do that for both of your side panels and then cut that section off. We've already talked about how to prepare the trim, so you know how to do that. And just peel the paper back and again begin on the inside upper edge, folding that around and continuing around with the fusing. Follow along the outside edge, curving carefully around the edges, repositioning your trim as needed, making sure that the corners are nice and curved so it has a nice line all the way up and across. And when you get to the side, which is the straight side that's going to go against the wall, you want to make sure that that's nice and straight. So you'll snip off the trim and then you'll have one long piece. So you'll fold that under on the upper and lower section, and then just fold that and hold it, get it nice and solid, and then you can pull your trim a little bit taut to make it nice and straight, trim off the edge and fold that under, and then you will be finished with your edge trim. Now we're going to attach the hard side of the Velcro to the side panels. That's going on the inside, not the side that's going against the wall, and that is where the center panel will fold over and connect to the back of the rod and the back of the side panels to hold it securely. So once you've ironed on the paper, peel it back, do the same thing you did with the center panel, only this will be the hard side of the Velcro, and just position that on your side panel, on both. Okay, our panels are finished. You can see that the center panel will overlap and attach to the back of the side panels. So once you've sized your rod and you have pulled that off from the side returns, make sure that's taped so it doesn't move when you remove it, and then take your hard side of the Velcro that is going to stick inside of the back of the rod, and then you can slip both of your panels on your rod and then push them securely against the wall. Then you just center your center panel right in the middle, and you've got your beautiful new valance. Thank you for joining me, Traceable Designers, and remember, you can always make your mark with Traceable Designer.